Hey everybody, welcome to our Deakin University Uni Myths Busted, especially here for the Whitehorse Youth Forum. My name's Nathan, I'm joined by my colleague Adam and by amazing current Deakin University students, and we have got a stellar 30 minutes planned. But Adam, before we jump in, would you like to acknowledge country for us today?
100%. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. We're all obviously based all over Melbourne, all over Australia at the moment. But myself, I'm based in Melbourne City. That's traditional custodians of the Wurundjeri people or the Kulin Nations. So I pay my respects to elders of the past, present, and young up-and-coming elders of the future. One thing for me, just referring to this photo that's on screen, this was painted recently actually for this NAIDOC Week celebrations. And it's a beautiful art piece. The photo doesn't do it justice, but two Deakin staff members, Kitty Wicks and Dr. Jenny Murray-Jones, painted it in collaboration with Deakin staff and students in celebration of NAIDOC Week. Yeah, anyway, who are we? Nathan, who are we?
It's a big question, Adam. I don't know how philosophical I'm feeling right now, but I can tell you that I'm Nathan. And Adam and I work at Deakin University, and we're kind of the boring ones of the group. So we don't want to talk too much. We want to throw it over to our amazing current Deakin University students. They are some have actually just finished their studies, which is so exciting. So we're going to go around the room. A quick introduction. Who are you? Let's start, Kazmira.
Hi everyone, I'm Kazmira. I'm a nursing student at Deakin University, and my favourite thing about university honestly has been the classes, which is interesting because I wasn't as keen on school as I am on my classes now.
Awesome, thanks Kazmira. We'll flip it to Roberto. Welcome, Roberto.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name's Roberto. I'm currently studying my honours in criminology. I'm going to be honest, my favourite thing about uni, and it's something that I've noticed a lot this year, is actually just being on campus and like chilling in the sun or in the rain or just on campus. It's nice and I kind of miss it, but like it's good fun.
Thanks, Roberto. Who we got next? Shane. Welcome, Shane.
Oh, hey everyone, so I'm Shane. I did a Bachelor of Science and I majored in mathematical modelling. Favourite part of uni, probably the short trimesters and long holidays. That's always quite nice.
At least you're honest, Shane. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Kim, welcome, Kim.
Hi everyone, my name is Kim. I have just finished my double degree in arts and law. And my favorite part of uni was definitely the flexibility. I find that so long as you meet your deadlines and do everything you need to do, you can study at all hours and all days of the week, which has been really valuable.
Great. Moving on to Erica. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Erica. I completed a Bachelor of Criminology at the start of the year and have just started a Bachelor of Cybersecurity this year. My favorite thing about university is probably being able to explore new topics and different subjects, things that you might not have experienced yet.
Great. And finally, Lily.
Hey, my name's Lily. I'm studying a Bachelor of Arts with a major in philosophy and a minor in Buddhism. And my favorite thing about uni is you get to be put in a room with people who are kind of nerdy about the same thing that you are, and you can just really like nerd out together all at the same time. And then someone who's like sort of running that conversation is even more knowledgeable than you think you are about the topic. And it's just a really cool way for you to like find like minds and get really excited about something really niche. Yeah.
Great, thanks Lily. So that's your crew today. So we're going to be dispelling some of the myths about university. We thought me and Nathan is going to be here facilitating in the background, but we're going to have really just an open, honest conversation with the Deakin University students about uni to get some of their insights and share some of their experiences about what they've had and have finished up. Shane, you just finished. Kim, you just finished. So Nate, do you want to run us through the 5 myths we're going to be busting today?
Absolutely. And these are the common myths. These are the myths that we hear a lot from people. Anyone who has any thought about university, these are some of the most common things that we think that university really is. So it's our chance to bust these wide open. The first one is the most common one. Only smart people can go to university. Myth number 2, I can't go to university. It's too expensive. Myth number 3, university is really hard. Myth number 4, I have to move out of home to go to university. And myth number 5, I need to know what job I want first before going to university. So these are the 5 myths that we want to bust wide open for you today and have a really honest conversation about, are these true and what can influence these? And I think there's no better time than now to jump straight into myth number 1. So myth number 1, only smart people can go to university. Which one of our students would like to absolutely destroy this myth for us? All right, Shane, go right ahead.
All right. Well, so probably the other mentor was probably a bit younger than me, so they probably got the arrogance of youth on their side. But for me, it's like the more I see, the less I know, sort of. And I think like intelligence or genius level IQ probably actually rare, to be honest. Anyone want to probably elaborate on that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the more knowledgeable you become about a subject, like you said, the less you know. And for me personally, I was really not very bookish in high school. I didn't like sitting still, and I considered myself like a bit angry and not really being able to go to class. And then going to uni, it just was a completely different environment where I thrived, which might seem typically smart. I'm doing philosophy, which is a very bookish subject, and it's really a different sort of scope of what smart means and is at uni.
I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Sorry. I think that's a really great point that Lily just made. Smart, we think of it as this kind of singular thing when it's not. Smart can mean so many different things. It depends on the topic, who you're talking to. So you might look at someone and think they're smart because they're smart in the things that you value, but you can be smart in so many different ways that we're all smart, but with differences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. I hate to break it to everyone. Everyone's actually smart. We're all smart. We just have different strengths and different things we need to work on, but we're all smart in our own way. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Yeah, Roberto, go.
Yeah, sorry. One of the best things about uni is like it gives you the opportunity to develop your skill set, and like maybe if you thought you weren't necessarily a genius in high school or something, you will develop those skills and you'll start to learn. I failed maths in year 10 and then I just stopped altogether. Then when I discovered that my uni degree needed me to read statistics and numbers, I panicked and freaked out, but like I learned and I was shown how to work with numbers, and now I'm not so bad. I wouldn't say I'm a genius, and I definitely wouldn't go and study a degree on it like Shane did, but like it's good fun, and like you do develop those skills throughout your university, which is really awesome. So.
All right.
Go,
Kim. No, go.
I might also say that your traditional idea of the smart kid can certainly be challenged by university. I was very much like the overachieving child in high school, but at uni, I failed assignments. Like, just because you may be the archetype or the typical nerd in high school doesn't mean it's going to translate to university at all, and the vice versa is also true.
Awesome, thanks, Kim. Moving on, practically, what if I don't get a high enough ATAR? What can I do? Who wants to tackle that one?
Still show up to uni. So all the other guys have probably heard me talk about this a million times, but they're going to hear me say it one more time. When I was in year 12, I got my ATAR results and I did not get what I needed to get into the course that I wanted to do. I wanted to get into law, and that needed like a 98 ATAR. And I just didn't get that, simply enough. So I still applied for uni, and I still got into uni. I got into like a Bachelor of Arts, and I did that for a bit. And then for me, I transferred through a lot of different courses. So I went from a Bachelor of Arts to a Bachelor of Criminology, and then I transferred from that into a double degree with law as well. So it only took me an extra year, but I basically got into the course that I wanted to get into in the end. So if you don't get the high enough ATAR that you need for that course, don't be disheartened, don't give up and say, right, uni, it's too hard, we can't do it. Still try to enroll, still try to apply for that position or into another course. Because once you get into uni, you can pretty much study whatever you want and like weave your way through the system to get where you want to go. So
thanks, Roberta. I think what you're really strongly demonstrating there is that there are alternative pathways to your desired course, and pathways is a word that I think students are hearing more and more these days. And there's becoming more and more pathways to get into university, and then becoming more and more easy to do. There's so many different ways to get into your course, especially if one of those reasons why you don't get into that course is you didn't get a high enough ATAR. But there are many other reasons why students might decide to go through a pathway. There are actually a couple more pathways in the room. Does anyone want to share how they got into their desired course?
I can super quickly. So I didn't actually get an ATAR at all. I didn't go that pathway through high school. I went and did an apprenticeship. So when I decided I wanted to go to university, I didn't have an ATAR to show them. So it wasn't even that it wasn't high enough, it didn't exist for me. So I was able to, with Deakin, use a pathway called the associate degree, which is kind of a similar level to a diploma or an advanced diploma. But it means that I was able to go onto campus and start studying arts subjects. So kind of the most broad things you can study straight away. And it didn't take me any extra time. Actually, everything that you did within that pathway translated directly into your bachelor's. So you essentially got to start studying your degree straight away. And there were people in there like me that didn't have an ATAR, or some that didn't have a high ATAR or didn't even have an average ATAR. Some of them were very low, and it still allowed them the opportunities.
Yeah, I can speak to that as well. I had a similar application. I applied when I was 21, so my ATAR wasn't relevant compared to the experience that I did. And I got all of my work from my TAFE and my professional job as an illustrator and put it in a little folio and wrote an essay. And I applied directly to uni saying why I would be good studying what I do. So my ATAR wasn't relevant to my application process.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. There's some really good pathways in the room. That was really good conversation. That's, I think, important to hear. Adam, let's fly on to second myth. This is a big one, isn't it? I can't afford to go to university. It's too expensive. Who is wanting to tackle this myth for us today?
I think that's probably something I can speak to. I moved out of home when I was 17, when I was still in year 12. So I had absolutely no money when I decided to go to university. I had minus money. But luckily through HECS, which is a loan program that the government provides, I didn't have to pay anything upfront. It was all covered. And I know that I will have to pay it back once I get a full-time job. But until I meet like the earnings threshold, which is about $44,000 a year, I don't have to pay anything. And that plus the subsidized place has made it possible for me to do 3 degrees now, which is really great.
3, okay.
This is my 3rd.
Just a quick add-on to the HECS as well. It does only apply if you're a domestic student. So if you're an international student, you won't be able to get access to that scheme. But there are other scholarships and stuff out there that you could probably have a look at. I'm speaking from experience there in year 12. I had to get my Australian citizenship so I could be able to get the HECS scheme so that I could pay for my degrees.
Awesome. Shane, did you want to add something there? I saw you waving your hand before.
Oh no, I was just thinking of a song by Prince with lyrics, I ain't got no money, but honey, I'm rich on personality. I think that relates to like a lot of university students. Probably shouldn't have had that, I don't know.
No, that's fair. We'll keep rolling. We've sort of covered that. What is a HECS-HELP loan? AKA a student loan. We might as well keep it rolling. Nate, did you want to add anything on that? Just keep moving.
No, I think we covered it. It's just as Casimira and the amazing mentor said, it's just a loan that the government paid for your degree for you, and you just pay it off when you start earning a certain amount. Something to add about that is you have to earn over a certain amount, as Casimira highlighted just for us before. That changes per year, and it just comes out of your tax, which is really great. So you actually don't get a bill or anything like that. They just automatically start taking it out quite slowly for you. So you pay it off over, some people pay it off over 10 years, which is really makes it quite affordable for most domestic students to be able to go to university if they want to. So I think that covers everything.
Yeah, definitely. Let's keep it rolling. We're moving fast. Okay, scholarships. Aren't they just for students who get a high ATAR? Ooh, good question. Who wants to tackle that one? Does anyone have a scholarship?
I had a bunch. Yeah, none of them were ATAR related. Absolutely none of them were academic at all. I got scholarships for all sorts of things. I got scholarships for doing research. I got scholarships for taking on work at university. And I also got scholarships for things like coming from a suburb where not a lot of students went to university, or being the first one in my family to go to university and things like that. So there's scholarships for pretty much everything. You've just got to find them.
And where would I find them, Casimira? Like if I was interested to find out more information about maybe what scholarships I'd qualify
definitely for? Apply for some through VTAC, but some are also on the university website. So I went trawling through the university that I wanted to go to see what was available. And a lot of them aren't claimed. Like most scholarships, people don't apply for. So you may as well give it a go.
Definitely. Lily, did you have something to add?
Yeah, like you can get a scholarship while you're studying to go overseas. So I did a subject in January before the world lit on fire, and uni was able to pay for me to go to India. So there are lots of different scholarships that aren't just to do with academic excellence or ATAR. Like Casimira said, there are just so many. It's really worth seeing if they're there because the money's there.
Yeah, and they're constantly changing as well. And it's not just before you start uni. It's also you can apply for scholarships once you're at uni as well. And it's like Nathan, we've been keeping an eye on the scholarships. For example, Deakin are constantly changing theirs. That's why it's good, as Casimira said, look at the university's website. But yeah, keep going back because they keep adding some as well, depending on the time of year. All right, let's keep it rolling. Nathan, I'll throw this one to you.
This is one that I think comes from the Hollywood media that all university students are poor. How do they afford to study full time and actually live? Do they live on ramen noodles? Even though ramen noodles, as a 19-year-old, are actually pretty yum. I did eat them by choice, but was it a necessity? That is the question. Who would like to tackle that one?
It's not a necessity to live off of ramen noodles. They are absolutely delicious and a constant meal of choice for me, but it's so not a necessity. I moved out of home about 4 months ago now in the middle of a pandemic, while I didn't have work, and I was a full-time student, and it is still accessible and available to do. The best thing about university, I think Kim mentioned it at the start, is how flexible universities can be. My first year at uni, I only went to campus 2 times a week. And that left me with 5 other days to be able to work elsewhere and earn money. So university is very flexible, and they do genuinely make it a bit easy so that you can go out there and you can work full-time or part-time and earn that living, so you can afford to buy ramen noodles and other things. So yeah.
I would also just like to jump in there, because for Centrelink purposes, a full-time load is 75% of your subjects. So normally for university, that's 3 subjects a semester, depends on your degree. And the advantage of that is it means that you can, if you're struggling to balance your work hours with your study load, which I certainly did some years, I could still maintain my Centrelink payment and also work to supplement my Centrelink earnings, and without getting overloaded with too much study and too much work. So I found that a really helpful strategy.
Also, where some of those scholarships that we were talking about could come into play as well. If you're struggling to make ends meet behind the scenes, there are scholarships out there that would be able to help patch those bits up there and make sure that you can keep focusing on your study as well.
Often there's most universities have some kind of financial aid office as well. I, for example, got a loan to cover a new laptop computer. It was completely interest-free, and I paid it back at something like $10 a fortnight or $20 a fortnight or something. Like, it was very much about how fast I could afford to pay it back, because it's through the university. They don't really need the money back. So I found that really, really helpful when I, desperately needed a new computer.
Cool. Kim, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so alongside this Hollywood perception that all uni students are poor, there's also this idea that all uni students are living out of home or are living in dorms and like you have to move out. But I've been at uni for 6 years and I've lived at home the whole time. So there are plenty of ways that uni students can be poor but still be able to study full time and complete their degrees.
Awesome. All right. Let's keep myth number 3. All right, university is really hard. It's all work, 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 nothing else. All you're doing is working, working, working. Is this true? Who wants to tackle that one? Shane, what's your thoughts on this?
So I think probably life is hard in general, but you get to choose the ways and how you suffer. Is that real dark? I don't know. But by putting yourself in situations that challenge you shouldn't be looked at as something negative. In fact, it can be quite rewarding. Like I remember when I was in high school, we had this thing called textbooks. You guys probably have tablets and laptops. But when I was like doing maths problems and stuff, we had the answers in the back of the book. So when you look at the answer and your answer was right, you probably say to yourself, oh, I'm like a god, I'm like the smartest person alive right now. And that feeling I kind of get when I'm doing university and doing something that's challenging for me, that type of experience. So I think doing things that may push your boundaries aren't necessarily a bad thing.
There's also lots of clubs and societies at university as well. It's not just all about, I guess, your schoolwork in this sense. There's societies for anything. There's some that are related to your studies, but there's some that, are for dodgeball, or I don't know, because you love nature and you want to go look at bugs or something. There's almost a club for anything. I didn't join any because I'm an introverted person, so that was a bit of a worst case nightmare for me. But I know a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of them, and that's really a place where it's easier to make friends with people, because if you're in a lecture, there might be 600 other people there. It's very intimidating, can be quite hard to get to know people, especially you're not always sitting next to the same person. But if you're really interested in having more fun and getting the most out of uni that you can, clubs and societies would definitely be something that you should look up. I know I wish I had more of a focus on that when I started.
Yeah, Nathan, how many sort of groups are there, like those clubs are there at Deakin? There's so many.
There's hundreds. There's hundreds, and anyone can actually make a club. You just need, I think, 6 people that want to join, and that's it.
There's all sorts, right? There's hip hop,
Exactly.
hip hop yoga. There's like hip hop ballet or something. I believe there was one. There's all sorts. Whatever you're into.
I've heard wind of a chocolate lovers club where they just get together and enjoy chocolate, which doesn't sound like a bad thing at all, in my opinion. So, in fact, I'm jealous I didn't find when I was at university.
So you find your tribe, you find your place, and as Lily mentioned earlier, like you also get a choice of what you're studying. So technically speaking, you should be enjoying every day because you're studying a subject that you're interested in. But Lily, you mentioned you're in a room with other people, like-minded people like you, are interested in the same topic as you, which is also a nice environment to be around.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it almost doesn't feel like work. With high school, you've got such a narrow selection of like what you're supposed to be doing and what's, like maths, English, and then you do something like this subject called cyborg anthropology, where you pretty much just look at sci-fi in philosophy, and you get to talk about, what that means in like the future. And it doesn't feel like work when you're having like a big discussion with like very, very clever, interesting, funny people.
Yeah, cool.
It comes back to, again, what Kim was saying before, how flexible uni is. You get to choose your units. And as long as they start fulfilling what your degree needs, you can choose your classes and decide what subjects you want to be learning and it means that you get that extra choice and that flexibility to actually try and enjoy what you are learning as well. So it really does kind of just feel fun at the end of the day.
That's a really good point that you make there, Roberto, because a lot of people have this conception that universities, all these really smart people that walk around having intellectual, academic, big word conversations, and they're in suits and ties and top hats. And so there's that perception there that it's the university, the content is really hard, because that's the kind of level that you think that it is. But it's a whole bunch of people, as everyone's kind of highlighted, it's a whole bunch of people in a room that just want to learn about the same thing. And so it's actually, you're there to learn and not to be tested and challenged in that kind of like, you don't know this thing, ha. It's actually, let's all learn this together. And you find a lot of people get to university like, oh, I actually can do this because it's not what I thought it was. Which leads me to like the next kind of sub part to this myth. So it's pretty clear that university is vastly different to high school. What's some of these differences, the kind of big ones that come to your mind that you'd like to talk about?
I would say the biggest difference that I find is the learning is all on you. Like, you don't have your teacher tapping you on the shoulder being like, hey, you've got to do this homework, or hey, you have this assignment due. It's all on you to maintain and make sure you know enough to complete your assessments and pass your exams. And on the one hand, that may seem really scary, like, oh, you have to like take accountability for your learning. But on the other hand, it comes with that flexibility that I really love about uni. It means you can learn at your own pace. It means you can do as much as you need to feel confident to complete your assessments. And, you know, you're really in the driver's seat of your learning. And I'd say that's the biggest difference I found.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're given a lot more agency when you're at uni. Even as Roberto was saying, you can be on campus for 2 days a week if that's how you work out your timetable. And I think that agency in that respect made me feel a lot more open into like stepping into my power and like who I am, you know, being treated like I was a full person with other commitments and intellectual pursuits. That was my favorite thing, or is my favorite thing about uni.
Yeah, I think I might reinforce what Kim said. I think I kind of missed the kindness of my teachers chasing up on my assessment pieces and letting me know when they're due. Probably a bit more accountability is probably more reinforced in university. Also, we don't have to wear uniform. So I guess that's probably an advantage or a disadvantage. I don't know. I probably kind of missed the uniform, to be honest.
Speak for yourself there, Shane. I still have to wear a uniform.
All right. Okay, practically, what is a typical day like for a uni student? Obviously, this year's been challenging. It's been a different year this year, but just taking the COVID-19 restrictions out, what's a typical day at uni like for you guys? Obviously, it's all different as well because you're all based different places, but who wants to share their typical day, or a couple of you?
I think I'll like cast my mind back to my first year at uni, and like for my first week, like it was just kind of showing up to classes and lectures. I think I didn't have classes that started before 10 a.m. I'd wake up, I'd get myself ready, have a coffee, grab some breakfast, drive to campus. That would take me about an hour. And then I'd show up to class about half an hour early, have another coffee, and then sit down in the lecture for an hour, go to another class. And like by 3 p.m., maybe 2 p.m., I'd be done at campus. I'd either hang around and chat to some friends or like have another coffee, and then probably drive home. And I'd probably, during my first year, I was working at a restaurant at night. So like I'd go home and then I'd get ready for work and I'd go and work. But those days change every week, and depending on like the assignments that you have to do, whether you've got a lot of readings or work that you want to catch up on, or even if you want to get ahead, it completely changes what your days are going to look like. That's one of the things I enjoy the most, is literally no day is like the last day that you had at uni, and they're always a bit different. So
yeah, awesome. Thanks, Roberta. Erica, you live quite away from campus, don't you? So what does your typical day look like?
Yes, so I live about a good day, an hour and a half away from the Burwood campus on a bad day, it might be 3.5 hours with traffic. So I kind of learnt very quickly that going to classes in person wasn't ideal for me because half the time I'd miss them anyway. So I decided to join the cloud campus, which is the same as what everyone else is talking about, but online. And so some of the benefits with that is, well, it helped with this year. I was a bit more prepared for it, but also there wasn't really live stuff. So I got to choose the time for my own lectures because it was a recording. So I work really well in the mornings. So kind of how Roberto was saying he didn't have anything start before 10. I want to kind of have everything done before 10 as much as possible. So I could wake up and just, kind of my desk is right in front of my bed. So literally roll out of bed, sit here and watch a lecture while eating my breakfast. So there was a lot more, I think, freedom with the cloud campus in that sense. But I missed out on a lot of the face-to-face interactions, like asking questions, trying to clarify information is a lot harder. So I missed going on campus. There's definitely benefits to both, but I think my typical day as a uni student was made a bit easier by not traveling all that way. So going by, like, you don't need to move away or worry about rent close by. You can still do it from where you are.
I'm going to do something really rude and I'm going to put someone on the spot because I think, Kasmira, you have the complete opposite experience as Erica, as you'd have in your course quite a heavy on-campus load. Do you want to share like your typical day in the life and some of your classes?
Yeah, so it actually depends a little bit because not all nursing students choose to do this, but I have most of my classes at the hospital. And what that means is that I spend 2 days a week solid at the hospital doing all of my classes. They have a library there as well, which is really, really useful. And then any other days that I want to study, I will come into campus to do that sort of, the same sort of study that Erica's talking about, where it's self-directed and I go through all of the content and everything in my own time. Nursing is a lot more structured than other degrees. I was mentioning before that I have to wear a uniform when I'm, whenever I'm in actual classes, because I'm on hospital grounds and I have to be identifiable. So it is a lot more structured. I actually thrive with that kind of structure. I really love it. It means I know exactly where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I have a plan, and I can structure, when am I going to see my friends really easily because I know when everything else has to happen. So it just depends. It depends on how you like to study, really.
Awesome. Thanks, Kasmira. Oh, we have a break. One thing we've learned this year about delivering online is that you can get stuck in front of your computer and online for so long. So wherever you are, just stand up, jump around for a second. We'll stretch a little ourselves. Just get the blood pumping. You can get like caught in this virtual world and lose a lot of energy. So be like that little meerkat. Is it a meerkat? What is that? No, that's not. What?
You're from Madagascar?
Madagascar. Oh, what are they? What are they? King Julian. Be like King Julian. All right. And we're back.
So let's jump into this number 4. And Kim, you, as a plot twist to us all, answered this for us already. But just to quickly recap, this comes from this kind of Hollywood perception. I have to move out of home to go to university. Kim, do you want to just quickly recap what you said before?
Absolutely. You do not have to move out of home if you want to go to uni. I have been still living at home for the whole 6 years that I've been doing uni, and I will probably keep living at home for a while after I finish uni. You absolutely don't need to move out of home and be in your dorms or live out of home to be a uni student at all.
Thanks,
but
Kim.
if you want to, you can.
But if you want to, we've covered this too a little bit because Erica touched on it, studying online in the cloud campus. All students this year were on the cloud campus, but you do have that choice as well. And Erica, you touched on it. I'm just curious, Erica, do enjoy it. Like I'd think myself, having been to university, been on campus, been around people, I like that vibe. I get energy. So how is it like? How do you motivate yourself being at home alone? You can do things in your time, and there's no one there to watch over your shoulder.
It's definitely hard. I get what you're saying. I love the vibe of being on campus, 100%. And like Kazmira was talking about before, I thrive on structure as well. So even though I wasn't on campus, I still made up a little timetable for myself and tried to stick with it. So I kind of tried to structure the unstructured in that sense. But it's definitely I don't know, it's good. It's good because it means don't need to spend time traveling and trying to read on the train, because that was horrible. I remember trying to write essays or practice for exams on the train, and that was really not a fun time, and people gave you lots of weird looks, and I felt like there was a lot of pressure with that as well, because they try and read whatever I was writing. But it's good. I liked not being in live classrooms, to be perfectly honest. I don't like being put on the spot. I like being able to think of my answers and kind of just watch and observe people. But when you're in classes, they try and get you involved, because that's how most of us learn the best. So for me, it was really good kind of being able to be a fly on the wall, not be in the classroom, but still be able to participate when I felt like it.
Yeah, awesome. Nathan, I have a question. Oh, you go, Roberto.
Sorry, I might just expand on what Erica was saying. I was only enrolled into the cloud campus this year because of the pandemic. But for the 3-4 years beforehand, I would every now and then just decide not to go to my 8 a.m. lecture in the morning and instead tune in live in my bed, in my pajamas with my cup of tea. So there is that flexibility again where you can kind of go, actually, no, today I'm not feeling too well, or no, I'm not up to driving an hour to uni and sitting in class. I'm really not, I don't want to do that today, frankly. So then you can make that choice to either watch the lecture live or watch it a bit later on. And that comes again down to the flexibility of uni and the self-driven learning. It's up to you to get to that material and learn the material that they're providing us. So it's all, yeah. Even though I wasn't enrolled in the cloud campus, I definitely took a fair few classes at home instead of on campus.
I have a question though. Can you be enrolled in the cloud campus and like at a physical campus like Burwood? Can you like split it up? You know what I mean? Like have half. Oh wait, Lily's got the answer. And
I don't know if you can be enrolled, but I personally have used the cloud campus discussion board a lot. Because there'll be people who are posting in discussions, like Erica said, with their thought about comments rather than just like on the fly comments. And it's a really good resource. So as an on-campus student, you know, pre-COVID, you could still access the cloud discussion board and cloud resources.
Also, even if you are enrolled in a physical campus like Burwood, some courses may be delivered online, may be delivered as cloud units. So especially for electives, if there's an elective you're really keen to take and it's cloud only, you know, don't be afraid of that, because something that I've learned this year is that I will say nursing, during this pandemic, nursing has been a really challenging thing for them to teach online. It's been a real struggle, but the amount of support that you get and the fact that your lecturers and facilitators, they will reach out, they are doing their best for you, and you don't really feel that alone when they're offering that support all the time. So I think they do go out of their way to give you all of the advantages and as few of the disadvantages as possible.
Sorry, just on that, if you are wanting to split your time between on campus and the cloud, it's probably easier to enroll as an on-campus student, because most units you can break down to lectures and seminars. Lectures are those ones that we all know. You're sitting in a big hall with hundreds of other people. Seminars are more like your classrooms where we have discussions. And so lectures, you can just go into any lecture that you want to, but seminars are generally capped at a maximum amount of students. So you can't just rock up to those if you're randomly on campus one day, but you can watch all of those online if you choose not to go. So if you're unsure about what you want to do, I would definitely recommend enrolling on campus so you, one, get to experience it, but two, it does provide you a bit more flexibility if you're just a bit unsure.
Cool. Nathan, over to you.
This is so for those who actually do want to be on campus. What is it like to live at university? So there's actually an opportunity for you to live on the campus. I know I did it for my first year, and I was a 5-minute walk away from the campus, which meant I could get up at 8:50 to go to a 9 a.m. class, and no one knew that I had just woke up unless you tried to speak to me. But anyway, did anyone here live on campus for a little bit?
I think it's you, Nathan.
I think it's just
your
me.
experience.
I thought it was amazing. I really enjoyed my experience, and mainly because I grew up in country Victoria. So I grew up about 250 kilometers away from Melbourne. So I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any family in Melbourne. So I moved onto campus, onto the residences at the Burwood campus, and I was surrounded by people that were exactly like me, who just moved to Melbourne, didn't know anybody, and it was a really good way to get comfortable, make friends, and then we ended up moving out together. So it was a really awesome experience, and it was great to be so close to the university and to be surrounded by people who were going through the same thing as me, kind of that lonely kid in the big city. I thought it was really awesome, and if anyone's thinking about it, I think you should absolutely do it.
Did you miss your family and friends?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also, it was a bit overwhelming coming from a town of 7,000 people to Melbourne, which is what, 5 million. So it was kind of a bit shocking, a bit overwhelming, but I really enjoyed it. And I did miss my family and friends, but I actually made family and I made friends down here, which was really cool. It's a great way to be surrounded by people who are kind of going through the same thing and trying to figure it out. So you end up figuring it out together.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Nathan. And you went to Deakin Uni too, didn't you, Nathan?
I absolutely did. I haven't left.
Oh, myth, not the last myth. The last myth. We're nearly there. To go to university, I need to know what job I want. That's a good question. Who wants to tackle that? Kim?
I'll take that one. Absolutely not. So I've studied 2 degrees, law and journalism, and next year I am not going to be either a lawyer or a journalist. So you absolutely do not need to know what you want to do to study at uni. I just made a decision of what I was passionate about, what I was interested in learning, and really that's all you need to guide you. And that's what guided me when I was looking for a job. What am I interested in? What do I want to learn? What am I passionate about? And just following that thread, I feel, is all you need. You don't need your 5-10 year plan locked and ready to go to university.
Shane? Roberto?
Sorry, as somebody who had a 5 to 10 year plan when I was leaving high school, it didn't plan out at all. We're 5 years in and I'm on a completely different path than where I started. Like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to get into a Bachelor of Laws to start off with, and I didn't. And then when I finally got into it, I decided I didn't actually enjoy it. So I dropped out of that degree, and I've now graduated with a Bachelor of Criminology. And I'm looking at doing something completely different from where I started. And I still actually don't know what I want to do. And my degree finishes in a year. So it's kind of like, you kind of make it up as you go. And if you're doing something that you really enjoy and that you're really passionate about, I think that's half the battle. So.
Awesome. Mathematics, Shane, very specific.
Well,
did you know you wanted to be in maths? What was your story? What's your journey, Shane?
I was going to say, so it's like a lot of you told are probably like 17 years old, right? If my math is correct. So probably like 5 years ago, they would have been 12. And when I was 12 years old, don't really know much about life. Probably don't even know much about yourself, to be honest. And for me, I think it's ridiculous to think you have your whole life figured out 5 years after turning 12. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Just trying to put it.
Yeah, no, that's so cool, Shane. But just following up on that, you studied maths.
Yeah.
Did you, at what point in your journey, or what year level did you decide you wanted to study maths? And do you still want to get a job in mathematics?
probably like a couple of years after high school, to be honest. And then I was just traveling in America for a little bit and just came to me on a plane. I was like, yeah, I'll just do maths.
And now you're obviously looking for work. You looking for work in mathematics?
Well, with maths, it's pretty broad. So there's like a lot of different fields you can go to. Very transferable. Like a lot of courses, like just because you study maths doesn't mean you need to be in like a physics or engineering field. You could be transferred to like psychology, biology, could even do something in finance. So it's very broad, or even IT, like cryptography.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if you don't really know what you want to do, jump with maths and you'll find somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's the same as nursing, isn't it, Casimira? Like the nurse is not just a nurse who does X, Y, and Z. Like you can be a nurse in anything, in many fields.
Definitely. I mean, I'm probably a bit different than the others in that literally how I decided on this degree was I finished my previous one. I worked, the industry collapsed because it was journalism. And then I went through every job ad on one website, clicked on anything I thought sounded interesting. And once I'd whittled it down to the ones I wanted, every single one required a nursing degree, and none of them were nurses. So I think that really showed me how versatile it was as a degree and that I could do so many different things with it. So even if I changed my mind, I'd probably still end up somewhere fun.
Also, like touching on a little bit of what Roberta was saying, going to university can help lead you to the job that you want, because you get to try out things that you may not even know that you had an interest in. Like I came to university thinking I was going to become an anthropologist, so the study of people and different cultures. That kind of led me into criminology. I was like, actually, I just care about people and crime more. And then further from that, I went, security. IT's becoming a really big thing. Maybe I'll focus on that. So I started thinking I was going to be focusing on people, and now I'm writing code for software programs. So university can help you kind of get to that job as well. So think of it more as a tool to discover rather than needing to use it to know where you're going to go.
Awesome.
And I feel like I've said this to every single myth, but it comes back to the flexibility of uni. You getting to choose your units and your schedules and your timetables and when you want to show up and when you don't. That really helps you figure out what you enjoy. I've done some of the weirdest elective units that you could possibly do. And some of them I really enjoyed and some of them I really hated. And I figured out what I enjoy from university and what I want to learn. And that's now informing where I want to go over the next year and beyond. So
awesome.
That is awesome. Now, what can you do if you just don't get into the course that you want? Any suggestions and advice?
Not to panic. There are lots of different pathways and lots of different ways to get into the course that you want to eventually. I used Deakin and I thought it was going to be a stopover point to do something else, to get into a different course that I wanted. And after starting it, I was like, I'm in love with this field. And I stayed there. There's so many different ways and there's so much overlap between TAFE and uni and further ed. I think Erica said it really well when she's like, use uni as a tool to discover what you like. So it's all cruisy. It's all good if you don't get into what you want to, just keep going.
There you go. Bang.
Take the opportunity if you don't get into that course to discover something new and try and use uni as that tool to find something else out about yourself. I got into the course I wanted to eventually, and after a year I dropped out because it was not for me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in something that I absolutely love and I want to keep doing for the rest of my life. So use uni to figure that out a bit. So.
Definitely. And I will say, as someone who, I sort of did something similar to Roberto, I changed degrees a bunch of times. Never be afraid to change. Never be afraid to, to tell your family, whatever. If you are hating where you are, transfer into something else defer, take a minute, take a breath, and then come back and do something that you are enjoying. There's no point in paying for a degree that isn't for you. So never be scared that you're letting yourself down or anything. You're not. It doesn't matter where you end up or what degree you graduate with, as long as you love it.
Sure. The amount of students, myself included, when I was at uni, they've changed courses during, like, you know, you go and you think if you change, it's like a massive deal. I think that's a question coming up. Am I busting a myth before a myth? Maybe I am. But yeah, it's so common to change, like Roberto's mentioned, Casimira's mentioned, you know, everyone here actually, you know, it's fine. It's normal to jump from criminology to cybersecurity. It's just so common. But when you go in, you think that you're just going to choose one thing and stay at it for the rest of your life, but that's just not the reality of it. And that's okay, and it's very normal. I busted a myth, I think. Oh, look at that. I got ahead of myself, Nathan. What if you discovered you don't like what you're studying after you've started?
The answer to that is rewinding 1 minute.
Can I also say, though, on that topic, because I've had family ask me, well, what was the point of studying all those other things?
This is a good point, yeah.
I've learned so much from my previous study, even though it's not where I ended up. Every single course I've taken, whether I loved it or hated it, I learned something valuable from it. And I've brought all of that understanding and learning and different perspectives from different people into what I'm doing now. And I wouldn't be as good a nurse as I am. Not, I'm a student, I'm not the best, but you know, I wouldn't be this good at it if I didn't have all of that background. So education isn't wasted ever.
No. And the friends that you make, connections that you make as well. You know, you can't put a price on that. I'm the same as you, Casimira. I did audio engineering diploma, and then I didn't do that good. I didn't do anything with it. My mum's like, why do you spend all that money? But hey, look, I've got some of my closest friends from that time period of my life, and you can't put a value on that. So it's never wasted.
To really expand on Casimira's point there and like provide an example, in my first and second year, I was learning Spanish at uni. And then I stopped, not because I didn't like it anymore, just couldn't learn 50 different languages at once or something. But like I was learning Spanish and it is still kind of coming in handy now. It's not like I'm reading Spanish articles for uni, but the ability to remember those words and what they mean in 2 different languages and figure out how to teach yourself new words and new dialects and grammar and all those sorts of things has come in really handy for learning about like different crime policies and all the different fancy confusing words they use in law and stuff like that. So that those skills that I learned in Spanish have transferred to my degree that is all in English. So it's really weird, but as Casimira said, education is not wasted. You're learning that thing and it's going to come in handy down the line.
Nathan. Oh, Lily.
Oh yeah, if I can add to that, I have found my TAFE experience absolutely invaluable to my university experience. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on the leap that you can make and the hop over between the two, but I did media and animation at TAFE. I have my certificate 3 and 4, and the internship that I'm doing now, I'm the only person on my team who has an understanding of how to use Photoshop, which is really important because we're doing personal branding and branding for this museum. And it was just such a like serendipitous thing that this kind of like high class bougie internship and the TAFE kid is using the TAFE skills to do well in this particular role. And that's not a role that I was considering going with. It's completely not a waste. It always comes back. Yeah.
That is amazing. You could rewind or you could just listen to that. That was perfect. Thank you, everybody. Adam, flick us along. Now, this is a big one we're hearing, especially this year. Isn't it impossible to get a job after you graduate? Kim, our golden poster child who just got a job, answer that question for me.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Well, it's not impossible. It does take a lot of work. Whether that's just the volume of applications you will probably be putting out to the millions of stages that graduate recruitment places often put you through. It is tough. It in my case, it was a case of 100 no's and 1 yes, and that will most likely be the case for graduates now and in the next few years. So while I will say it is not impossible, I am proof of that. It is hard, but I would say stick to what you're passionate about, go after opportunities you're passionate about, because if you're going to go through all the rigmarole, you may as well go for something that you are going to enjoy when you do get it.
I have a question. Can I have a question for the panel? Just we can go back. Okay, what can you do to make it easier? Like, well, what can you do to improve your chances better than, 1 out of 100? We're talking maths. Like, is there anything that you can do during your time at university to make yourself stand out or have a bit of more of an advantage?
I will say something that I did as much as I could was I had to work anyway. So I focused on trying to get part-time work that would build all sorts of skills. And that includes both industry-related skills and also just those transferable skills, like customer service means you know how to work with people, and that will last you in good stead for the rest of your life. Retail, hospitality. But also whenever I had the opportunity to do an internship or get, boring administrative assistant jobs in the field I was interested in, I took those as well, because it's just something extra, even if it's short term, even if it's, a temp placement or something like that, it's something to put on your resume. And it's all skills building.
Awesome. Thanks, Casimira.
Yeah, absolutely. In the same way that no study is wasted, I would say no experience is wasted. Every position you hold, whether it's in your field, outside of your field, going to the circus for a month, all of that plays into your personal and professional development and makes you more attractive to an employer. So absolutely take every opportunity you can, find opportunities that excite you, and follow your passion is, I'd say, your best way to increase your chances of making that job hunt that little bit less soul crushing.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be paid experience. It could be just even things like volunteering. I know if you play sports, feel free to coach some junior teams or something.
Yeah, 100%. This shows your character, doesn't it, Shane? That you're putting yourself out there and meeting new people and trying new things as well. It's definitely worth it. Anyone else want to add anything else before we move? We're nearly there.
I can quickly add something. Don't wait until you're graduating to think about it.
Yes, good point.
That's what I did, which is why I'm studying again while I look for more work. But especially in that last year, look for opportunities. Even just start thinking of the type of jobs you'd like to do with what you're studying. Some degrees like criminology are very, very broad and don't lead into a specific type of job. So you really got to put in a lot of thought and effort into what you might like to do. So spending that time before you graduate is definitely advisable.
If I can add to that, I heard a stat, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about Deakin, which was pretty soul uplifting. And it was something like 88.1% of graduates get a industry related job within a year of graduating. And that just lifted the weight off my shoulders. It made me feel very optimistic, which is another thing that can help your chances in getting a job. But yeah, that was definitely a mood booster for me, because I think we always hear about how grim it is because it is so hard, but there are roles out there.
Unis like Deakin and Monash and Melbourne, they are all trying to get their graduates jobs because at the end of the day, it makes them look better. But there are those resources out there at the university. With Deakin specifically, we have Deakin Talent, and they're all about finding university students either part-time or casual work while they're studying, but also running workshops and teaching you how to survive an interview or a video interview, how to write the perfect resume for the perfect job that you want. And then there are internships running through the universities. And there's lots of different resources and things available at unis to help you get that graduate job. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. We're at the end. We're at the end. Oh, this is my favorite part, actually. So this is a final takeaway. We've got a 1 minute, we call it the 1 minute hot seat. So we're going to ask each one of the panel members a question, and they're going to have a minute to give an answer. And the question is, what did you wish you knew before applying for or going to university? We have a little timer as well to keep them accountable. Nathan, who do we want to go first? Who wants to go first?
We're going to go with Erica.
You're on the clock, Erica.
Okay, 1 minute. Probably to be very open to broadening what experiences you want to have, whether that's meeting people or exploring different topics of studying, trying to not be so narrow and focused, because now's the time to explore and get those experiences. Once you graduate, it's a lot harder. That 30 seconds, done.
Wow, 30 seconds. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Erica. Thanks for sharing. That's the time when you're young, when you're in your 20s, that's the time to try and explore and fail and succeed and pick yourself up again and try something new. So I agree 100%. Who wants to go next? Who we got, Nathan?
We're going to go with Roberto.
You're on the clock, Roberto.
Alrighty, so I wish that before I started uni, I wish I knew that it was okay to fail. And it was okay to not get 80% on every single assignment. Because going to be honest, it's going to happen and you're not going to always do the best that you thought you could. And sometimes life gets in the way and it means you can't sit that exam or do as well as you wanted to on those assignments. And that's okay. I failed a couple of units, I failed a couple of assignments, and I still graduated with a degree and I'm still studying. And they're not going to kick you out as soon as you do. That's what I really wish I knew. And I've learned and grown from those mistakes and those failings that I've had. And hopefully it's made me a better student and a better person. That was much longer than 30 seconds.
Well, you had a minute. You were within a minute. Yeah, I agree, Roberto. It's not Hunger Games. You're not going to get kicked out if you fail one thing. They're not going to throw you out of the university. You can pick yourself up and keep going. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Who do we got, Nathan? Who's next on the clock?
We're going to go Lily.
Oh, what? I almost broke the machine. Lily, you're on the clock.
Okay, 1 minute. I think something I wish I knew before going to university was that there are people in universities whose full-time job it is to support you, whether those people are librarians or people. I have a lot of trouble enrolling in units, so I rock up and I'm like, help me, and I have a meltdown to my careers advisor at least once a semester at what I'm going to do with my life. There are people there who either help you get jobs or help you work out how to do an assignment. There's just a whole team of people that are on Team Lily to watch me succeed. And if success for me is like a credit or a pass, they go like, amazing, well done. And I wish I knew that before applying. 45 seconds, good.
45 seconds, that's great. I couldn't agree more. I was horrible at presenting. I had to have a group assignment and stand in front of people and present as a group, and I was afraid. So then at the uni I was at, they had facilitation workshops, like presenting and being better, writing essays. Like there's workshops for everything that are free, particularly at Deakin Uni as well, that are there to support you, which is great.
We're going Kim this time.
We're going Kim.
Kim, you're in the hot seat.
You are on.
So what I wish I knew before applying to uni is that uni is what you make of it. I thought, yep, I'll just like go to my classes, do my assignments, chill. But no, not chill. There are so many things other than classes that you can get involved in. You can join societies. I made pretty much all of my uni friends through uni clubs. You can go out and find opportunities that develop your experience. You can do so many things, and nothing is going to come to you in the way that it did in high school, but that means you have the opportunity to go out and follow your passion and get what you want. And I wish I knew that.
Thank you, Kim. One thing I agree, like we look at, sometimes I looked at uni as like a task I needed to complete, but it's more of like a journey you should experience. Like it's so fun, like the whole process of uni and meeting people and like learning new things that we touched on throughout this whole presentation. Who are we going to go to, Nathan?
It's Shane's turn. Shane, get in that hot seat.
You are live, my friend.
All right, so what did I wish I knew? I think before applying before, or choosing a career, or maybe any life decision, ask yourself, if money was off the table, like if you had to do it for free, would you still be passionate about it? Or would you still want to do it? I think if the answer is yes, you're probably on the right path of, I guess, doing something that's authentic to you. That would be my advice or question I would ask myself before doing something.
Thanks, Shane. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Last but definitely not least,
Who we got?
Kazmira.
I wish I'd known that there was no rush. There was no rush to go to university, and there was no rush to finish my degree, you know, in 10 seconds once I was there. There are so many people who don't finish their bachelor's in 3 years. And, you know, I feel like when I first started university, I felt all of this pressure that didn't really exist. And taking it off and knowing that I got to change as much as I wanted, take time off if I needed it, go part-time, whatever I wanted, and to take full advantage of that flexibility was really life-changing, and has meant that I've come out of it with better grades, better friends, and better work experiences as well.
Thank you, Kazmira. Nathan, we are almost done. However, Nathan, I've shared my sort of take, but we haven't heard from you, Nathan. I'm going to put you on the hot seat today. Why not?
Oh, no. Okay, you start your timer. I'm going to do it in a minute.
Okay, what did you wish you knew before applying for or going to university, Nathan Coffey? Go.
I wish that I knew that I was good enough to go. I never thought I was. I was that kid that I kind of bombed year 12. I was never the smart kid in school. I was surrounded with like the nerdy smart kids. So like I was like the terrible, like unsmart one in the smart group. So I felt like I just never would belong and I didn't deserve to go. And the only reason I did go is because I wanted to do I wanted to get a job, but they needed you to have maturity. So you had to go to university to get maturity, which is something that you actually do get there. And I only got into my course because I had to audition because I did drama. And that was how I thought that's the only way I could ever conceive of getting in, is actually just not having to be able to hide that I wasn't smart or I wasn't good enough. And I really wish that I knew that that was absolutely just a total lie and that I was good enough to go, and I did deserve it. Boom, within a minute.
Boom, and you had no, I just threw you on the spot. That was a beautiful answer. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for sharing. And that brings us to the end, but we do have a quote by Howard Thurman. Nathan, do you want to read the quote for us?
The quote is simply, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I think that summarizes the entire conversation today, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for sharing your experiences about university, some of the tips for the younger people going to university very soon. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Unfortunately, we're sorry there was no forum in person, obviously due to the current situation we're all in. But hopefully next year we can be there in person. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you to our Deakin students for joining in as well. We hope everyone enjoyed today and can take something out of it. Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you to our student mentors. You're all amazing. It's so insightful.
So insightful.